and we're pretty excited because today we're going to talk about something very interesting, which is stay true to your choices when others don't understand. And it's especially targeted towards the holidays because we got to navigate a lot of social pressure when we are around the holiday season, especially coming up with all the celebrations, which are great, but most of them include alcohol. And a lot of us are in a path of changing our choices and changing our lifestyles. And maybe alcohol moderation can be one of them. And if that resonates with you, that's great. And this life is really for you. So I want to start with something that I think can help us connect a lot. So picture that you are at a holiday party and the room is feeling warm. It's really cold outside. The room is feeling alive with conversation, with laughter, and someone approaches you, someone that you care about, and maybe a friend or a family member, and they tell you, or offer you really a glass of wine. And it's like, come on. They say it with a smile. Come on, let's drink. It's the holidays. Just one. It won't hurt. And in that moment, something really shifts inside of you. And you've made the decision of drinking. Maybe you've chosen to take a break, or maybe you're practicing moderation and you already had a glass, or maybe you have decided that alcohol isn't not working for you at the moment. But now you're standing in front of someone who you care about, and the clarity that you used to have feels a little fragile. And your inner resolve meets your expectation of something starts to rise in your chest, and a really familiar tension starts to show up. And a question appears in your head. Do you honor what you know it's right for you, or do you accommodate to what they expect from you? And here is what makes this moment so difficult for anyone who has experienced it. And it's really not about the drink itself. It's about the belonging. And it's about being seen or not being seen, and being seen as different. That's a very big thing for us human beings, and I'll explain later why, but it's about the fear of choosing differently. That can mean, for a lot of reasons, choosing a little bit of distance. So you are standing really in the intersection of two fundamental human needs, which are the need to be true to yourself, and then the need to be accepted by others, really. And today we're exploring one of the most challenging aspects of transforming your relationship with alcohol, which is how to stay true to your choices when the people around you don't really understand or don't really share them, right? And it's also about how to navigate that social pressure without feeling isolated or judged or somehow betraying yourself. And we'll dive into the science of why the social pressure feels so powerful, and how your brain actually processes that social rejection, which, a fun fact, actually, rejection is processed similar to physical pain. It's processed in the same exact area. And we will also explore the psychological dynamics that come at play when you are choosing differently from your social group. So, we are really exploring why the unconscious patterns make saying no feel so much harder than it actually should be. And we're going to try and flip that script, because it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't feel pressured onto any anything. And it could be for a celebration. Great. You can celebrate different ways. And by the end of our time together, we want to understand a little bit about why others' reactions really trigger you so deeply and how to distinguish between a genuine connection and the conditional of belonging. And most importantly is how to ground yourself in your own truth, even when everyone around you is drinking. Because at the end, we really can't change others. We really can't change other choices, but we can really stay true to ourselves and to our choices. Um, and how to create distance from that, that's one of the main things that we got to understand and start practicing ourselves. So, and really, this isn't about becoming rigid or isolating yourself. This is about discovering an authentic freedom and the kind that really doesn't require approval from others. And that's what we're going to try and explore, or maybe plant a little bit seed of curiosity here in the life. So the first part I want to talk about the science behind social pressure. And for us, it's important to understand this very first fundamental truth, which is your brain doesn't just prefer social belonging. It Your brain is neurologically wired for social connection as a survival necessity. So, when you experience a social rejection or you feel excluded in one way or another from a group, something really extraordinary happens in your brain. And the anterior cingulate cortex, which is the same region that processes physical pain, lights up. So your brain is experiencing social exclusion as a threat to your survival, and it can actually hurt. And this isn't like dramatic, and I'm not trying to play it in that way, but it's from evolutionary biology, because for hundreds of thousands of years, being excluded from your tribe meant death. And your ancestors, who were sensitive to that social rejection, who worked hard to maintain themselves in the group, survived. And the ones who didn't care, they didn't pass on their genes. So when someone offers you a drink and you feel that internal pressure to say yes, you are not being weak. You are experiencing a neurological response that kept your ancestors alive. And here's where it gets even more complex, because when you are in a social situation where everyone around you is drinking, your brain releases dopamine. And not just from the anticipation of alcohol and it's trying to regulate itself, but from the social bonding themselves. We are social creatures, and sharing a drink becomes associated with connection, with acceptance, or with belonging. And research in social sciences have shown that when we engage in the synchronized behaviors with our group, and it could be like raising the glasses or drinking together or celebrating together, our brains release oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone. And it creates a collective effervescence. You feel part of something larger than yourself. And that is why we seek that feeling over and over again. So when we choose not to drink in an environment that a lot of people are drinking, your brain registers it as breaking the synchronicity of it all, and you are interrupting those neural pathways that created the group cohesion. And that's like why it feels so uncomfortable, and like no wonder it feels that way, right? And understanding this is more than just spilling the science, it's for you to understand why your body reacts the way it does. Your body was the first instrument that we had to express ourselves, even before language. So, understanding how your body's reacting to it can give us little signals that we can understand and accommodate to them. So now let's talk about something that happens in your brain when you are trying to stay true to the choice of not drinking while everyone around you is drinking. And your prefrontal cortex, which is the rational thinking part of your brain, the part that really makes you human, remembers why you made this choice, why you made this decision, because it was rational and it was logical. It holds your values, it holds your long term goals, and your commitment to change. But the limbic system, which is the emotional, reactive part of your brain, is screaming danger signals. And it can say we're being excluded or we're being different, we might be rejected, and it threatens our survival. And here's a very critical piece: that limbic system is way faster and louder than that prefrontal cortex. So emotions take so little to rise up. And they really rise up in milliseconds. An irrational thought really takes a little bit longer. And studies have shown that emotions can be the real like core emotion takes around 90 seconds for it to like fully rise and come down. So it could be a little bit overwhelming during those first 90 seconds. And then the rational thought comes along. And this is why you can't really intellectually fight your way through the situation. And that's why you also think like, oh, I have my motives and my goals clear, but I still feel emotionally overwhelmed. And I have this pull to say yes. And it's not a character flaw, it is really the biology of emotions. And I want to talk also about another fascinating piece um, that comes in play when we are talking about social pressure and us as social creatures is the mirror neurons. So these are the brain cells that fire both when you're performing an action and when you observe someone performing an action. So when you are at a party and everyone around you is drinking, your mirror neurons are activating as if you were drinking as well. So your brain is simulating the experience of drinking based off what you are observing. So this is why when people around you who are drinking can make you or can make your brain increase those cravings that it has, even if you've been feeling very solid about your commitment and your choices. So your brain is experiencing a vicarious reinforcement of that drinking behavior. And research from UCLA found out that those mirror neurons play a significant role in social learning and conformity. So when we observe others engaging in a behavior that appears to bring pleasure and a rewarding pleasure, our mirror neurons are primed to imitate that. So this means that staying true to your choice in a drinking environment isn't just about willpower, and it's about managing a more complex neurological response. Um, so what I was telling you, it's more than just willpower your way through the situation. And here's what often happens when you're in a social event, someone pressures you about not drinking, you feel your body stress rise up. Your heart rate increases, your cortisol rises, and your nervous system really shifts into a defensive mode. And when your stress response is activated, your prefrontal cortex, which is what I said, the rational decision making part of your brain actually can go offline. So your brain goes into survival mode. So this is why moments like in moments of social pressure, you might find yourself saying yes to a drink, even if you planned on saying no. Your survival brain has taken over and it's prioritizing that social belonging over those long term intentions. So, understanding this doesn't excuse a behavior, but it does help you approach it in with compassion rather than shame. So now let's move into the psychology, from science into psychology, because the way that you respond to social pressure isn't just about brain chemistry. It is also about the relational history and your unconscious patterns. So I think this theory has been talked a lot through social media, and but I think it's important to bring it up again, and it's the attachment theory, which it was developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. So these two psychologists talked about how attachment really shows us the quality of our early relationships and how we navigate connections in our daily lives, even as grown adults. So if you grew up having a secure attachment with your caregivers who were consistently in tune with your needs and were responsive, you likely develop a secure attachment. So you can maintain your own identity while staying connected to others. So saying no doesn't threaten that sense of belonging. But if your early attachment was maybe insecure and you understood that love was conditional and you had to adapt yourself to maintain that connection, you might have learned that being accepted is more important and it requires to suppress your true needs and preferences. And also for people who have an anxious attachment style, they fear the rejection, and it can be completely overwhelming. And the thought about disappointing someone, or being different triggers deep anxiety. So you might find yourself saying yes to a drink, not because you want to drink, but because saying no feels like risking a relationship. Um, So, understanding your attachment style really helps you understand and see why social pressure plays different roles in your life and triggers you specific ways. And understanding your triggers can also help you either ground yourself, find new mechanisms and tools and coping mechanisms, and kind of just exercise yourself so you can definitely make a different choice, a more conscious choice. So what I really want to talk about in this moment is that conscious choice. It's something that has to be active. It can't be passive. You can't have a conscious choice with a passive behavior. You got to be active in your own life. And that's the main thing that we really want to put forward with unconscious moderation. But now let's also talk about like an added layer of complexity of it all, because it's the family dynamics. It's the holidays. We're gonna gather with family members and or friends, and this dynamics need to be talked about because they often brings us back to our old selves. So family dynamics where alcohol was involved and drinking has specific meanings and roles are difficult to work through when you're having the choice of moderation. So the family systems theory, it was developed and it teaches us that families operate like emotional units. So each person has a role and each person's behavior maintains the balance of that unit. So if alcohol has always been part of family celebrations, it could be either through family bonds or celebrations or grieving periods or to avoid difficult emotions. And then your decision to drink differently or moderate or even not drink can threaten that balance and that equilibrium. So your family members might pressure not because they genuinely care if you drink or not, but because the a different choice can disrupt a family pattern. So it forces everyone to become more conscious, and that's something that is a little bit uncomfortable. As we talked about, being conscious can bring uncomfortable feelings, but it doesn't mean it has to keep on being this way. And maybe your family is your family used alcohol as a way to express vulnerability. And you can think about, like, oh, we only talk about the real things when we have a few glasses of wine, or maybe is how conflict was avoided and we drink to keep things light, or maybe is to express love. And you see those people all over, like family and friends. And when you choose not to drink, you're not just declining the alcohol, you are disrupting a little bit that unconscious agreement about the family. But who said that disrupting a little bit was a bad thing? You can actually help people become more conscious of their choices by leading with example. So this is why really family gatherings and the holidays can feel like with a lot of pressure, because you're not just navigating your individual relationship, you're navigating an entire system on its own, and you're facing a lot of unconscious rules about belonging. We also talk here at Unconscious Moderation a lot about Carl Jung. We do believe a lot about our unconscious brain. Um, and Carl Jung would have liked us to understand something, that when someone reacts strongly to your choice not to drink, they're actually not reacting to you. They're reacting to something about themselves. So, this is called a shadow projection. So, this is the part of ourselves that we haven't integrated or they haven't integrated. Um, and it's our own doubts, our own fears, our own suppressed desires, and we project onto others. So, when someone says, like, why aren't you drinking? Why are you judging me? Even though you haven't said anything judgmental, that's what's really happening. So they are projecting their own unexamined feelings about not drinking or drinking in moderation onto you and your behaviors. So your sobriety or your moderation becomes really a mirror for others. And this is why they're so uncomfortable and they can pressure, and they might try to get you to drink so the mirror goes away. And this is a really, really important to understand, because it helps you not to take those reactions personally. And their discomfort isn't about you failing to be fun or flexible. Their discomfort is triggered by something unconscious on their behalf, on their heads, that maybe they're not really ready to look at. So your job isn't to manage their discomfort. Your job is to stay grounded with your own truth while remaining with compassion towards the struggle of others. So, and lastly, we also like are in an era, we could say, yeah, maybe that's the right word, where like a lot of people and many of us especially think about a certain way to please people, and it's a people pleasing pattern. So it can be deeply ingrained in our brains, and we learn early on that the worth was tied to making others happy and not to causing problems, and to be easy and to be accommodating. And a psychologist identified that people pleasing can be a form of self abandonment. So we sacrifice our own needs, our own boundaries, and our own authenticity to maintain that approval of others and to keep things light. So when you are a people pleaser, the idea of saying no, thank you to a drink can feel almost impossible. And it's not just because of the drink, it's because of the thought about disappointing someone or being seen as difficult or losing a kind of approval. And here's a very important, crucial thing that I would want you to understand. People pleasing isn't actually about being kind. It's about managing your own anxiety, and it's about controlling how others perceive you and feel about you. Real kindness includes honoring yourself, and that is not an ego thing, and that is not being selfish. It's about being or honoring your values, honoring the real connection that includes showing up authentically as you are, even when that authenticity makes people a little bit uncomfortable. So, I've talked a lot about the theory and about what about social pressure and how do we handle it in our brains. But now I want to make things a little bit more practical, because now a question arises of like, how do I actually navigate this? Like now I understand what's going on inside of my head. And how do you stay true to your choices when everyone around you is drinking? Can be both internal and externally overwhelming. So the first strategy that I want to bring to you, it's the preparation and grounding. So before you enter any social situation where you might feel that pressure, prepare yourself psychologically, mentally, have a game plan, let's say. And research on stress shows that mentally rehearsing a challenging scenario can actually change your brain's response to that scenario when it's a reality. So your prefrontal cortex can stay more online when stress hits. So that's a very awesome fact about our brains, and it's because our unconscious mind really can't differentiate between imagination and reality. So when we imagine those scenarios, we feel those emotions. It's not like, oh, I'm just thinking about it. No, you actually feel them. So when you imagine those moments or those scenarios, you can train yourself. So when the moment comes, you know how to act, and you know that those feelings are not so overwhelming. So try this. Before the event, close your eyes and visualize the moment when someone offers you a drink, and feel yourself grounded in your body. Imagine any response that you would want to say. And sometimes keeping it short and light is the way to go. So you can say, no, thank you, with a calm confidence. Just rehearse those words. But the feeling is about like staying true to yourself. And this isn't about like positive thinking or it's really about creating that neural pathway for the response. So you feel comfortable around that response, and you have certain responses at hand that can help you and feel very true to yourself and to your essence. So it doesn't feel that it's inauthentic. That's the main thing. It has to feel authentic, and it has to feel something that you would say, not that someone on a live session tells you to say. Um, a second strategy would be having a response repertoire. So have a few responses that really feel authentic to you. And you don't know any explanation, but having a language or prepare or having certain phrases that you feel really comfortable help you to keep yourself grounded. So you can say, I'm taking a break from drinking right now, but I would love some sparkling water. And no, I'm not drinking tonight, but I'm really happy to be here. Or I'm doing a health reset. And um but can I get an opinion on something instead? Or it could be, actually, I'm good. Tell me about, and then redirect the topic. Make it about the other person, not about you and your choices. So notice how this choices and this responses really don't apologize, they don't over explain, they don't invite for a debate. They're clear, they're kind, and they're setting boundaries. And boundaries are really not for others, are for you, right? Setting your boundaries is to keep it true to yourself. So practice saying this out loud or come up with your new phrases, and you can type them on the chat tonight, all of those phrases that you've used before, that it could be funny or sarcastic, or any response that has helped you through the night of making a different choice and not feeling that social pressure. Then a third strategy would be the pause. So when someone pressures you and you feel that surge of anxiety and guilt, practice a pause. So before responding, take a deep conscious breath, just one, in through the nose, out through the nose. And in that pause, you are activating your prefrontal cortex and you're bringing that brain back online. What I told you, emotions can rise up really quickly, and they can take around 90 seconds to calm down. So when you take that pause of like breathe in, breathe out, understanding what your body is trying to signal, you can actually ask yourself, what do I actually want right now? Not what will make someone else comfortable, not what will avoid awkwardness. What do I actually want? So, in that pause, we say that in that pause, power lives. So, in the space between the stimuli and your answer, it exists the choice. So, it's so important that you take that time. And this pause actually interrupts the automatic stress driven response, and it creates space for a more conscious decision. And it affirms you in your agency. And that's what we really want for you, that you reclaim that agency. Another strategy would be grounding, and we've talked about it before in our videos, but I think it's very wonderful, and it's one of the main strategies that can help you out in this moment. And in moments of pressure, reconnecting to what made you have this choice in that moment in the first place, it's very grounding for you. Not to resurface the reason of I'm trying to be healthier, but more in the deeper truth. Because maybe you made the choice of not drinking to stay fully present with your children. Or maybe because you're very tired of numbing your emotions. Or maybe it's because you're reclaiming power after years of being controlled by alcohol. When you ground yourself in the deeper why, others' reactions lose the power over you. So you are more anchored in something more meaningful than somebody else's approval. And research on self determination theory shows that behaviors that are motivated by an individual autonomous intrinsic reason, the ones that connect you to your core values, are more sustainable and create less psychological conflict than behaviors that are motivated by external pressure and approval seeking. And then the the fifth strategy would be distinguishing between a true connection and a form of conditional belonging. So it's a very powerful reframe. So if someone can only connect with you when you are drinking, that is not a genuine connection. And that's really a condition of belonging. And the true connection accepts you how you are. A true friendship doesn't require you to abandon your boundaries or to change your habits or change your core or change your value. So if your choice not to drink threatens a relationship, the relationship was really never solid, or it was never constructed in um, a lasting way, really. So it's really painful to kind of understand when relationships are conditional, but then again, you can think about those relationships who aren't, and you can build on those, water those relationships where they don't require you to be a certain way other than yourself. So you're not losing connection by staying really true to yourself. You are revealing which connections are real and which are based more on performance and compliance. So the people who truly, truly care about you will respond to your choice, even if they don't fully understand it. Um, but they won't pressure you, and they won't abandon you and your choices and your core values. And another, here we have a little message on the chat. How should we deal with anxiety? So when anxiety rises in this situation, one of the most powerful ways to deal with it, because anxiety usually comes with a lot of physical, um, physical responses, it would be take a step back. It can actually mean an actual step back, or maybe excuse yourself to the restroom, go on and have a walk in fresh air. This can help you, first of all, move away from the situation that is triggering you. It will give you the space and the pause for you to understand what triggered you. And this is also something that can help you understand the what was in play right then and there. Maybe it was your core, your values, your essence, or the idea that you have to people please. So it really gives you the space. And also, another way that personally has worked a lot for me and that it's been scientifically proven would be breathing. So there are different techniques of breathing. It would be the box breathing, which is 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds holding, then 4 second exhale, and then 4 second hold. So this can help you regulate your breathing, regulate your heart rate, help you with the anxiety. And yeah, there are multiple different activities that you can do that are not so notorious that you're like, oh, I'm dealing with my anxiety right now. I'm talking about those things and can help you in a social situation. But if you want to learn more, there's also the Unconscious Moderation app, where we have all these techniques, and we have them also on YouTube that you can check them out. But there are 3 ways that I said that can help you, and hopefully you can start using them, and let us know in the comments what other ways have helped you with your anxiety and to deal with the anxiety of the social pressure. Then let's like jump onto another strategy maybe that can help, which is the self-compassion. So you won't navigate every situation perfectly, and that's the truth. You're human, you can make mistakes, feelings can come up, and there will be moments where you give in to the pressure. And there will be moments when you stay true to your choice and you feel socially awkward or disconnected. And this is where compassion and self compassion becomes really essential. because self-compassion is treating yourself with the same kindness, the same grace you would treat a close friend of yours. So actually that compassion increases your ability to maintain those difficult changes. And when you sleep up and instead of spiraling into shame, try and say, that was hard, I'm learning, and I'll try again next time. The shame keeps you really stuck. The compassion creates the space to grow. So now I really want to come back to what I said about the unconscious moderation app, because everything that we've been exploring today, the neuroscience of the social pressure, the psychology of belonging, and the unconscious patterns that make saying no very difficult. This is what the unconscious moderation app can help you work with and can help you work through. So you can have all the strategies in the world, but your unconscious mind still believes that maybe saying no to alcohol means losing connection, and it can continue to create a little bit of a struggle. And it's important for us to remember that 95% of our behavior is driven by unconscious processes. So your unconscious mind, your conscious mind might think that you're setting boundaries, but your unconscious mind is really the one running the show. So this is why in the unconscious moderation app, we talk more about hypnotherapy and why this is so powerful, because it really speaks directly to your unconscious mind. So it updates those unconscious, deeply ingrained beliefs of fear, of rejection, of people, or people pleasing, really. So hypnotherapy, it's about rewiring also your social responses. So through the guided sessions, through the unconscious moderation app, you work directly with your unconscious to update different beliefs around alcohol, around stress, about choices, about agency. And it's also about strengthening your capacity to stay grounded in your choices and release those old patterns that are not serving you anymore. So when you are in a relaxed hypnotic state, that's when your brain becomes more receptive to all the different perspectives. And you are not really fighting the unconscious mind or the unconscious patterns, you are gently updating them. And that's why we have it on the app. Also, during the app, and also another way that it can help you deal with anxiety would be journaling. So the unconscious moderation app includes daily journaling prompts for you that help you explore different questions in different moments. And it could be like, when do I feel the most pressure to drink? Or what am I really afraid about saying no? Um, and understanding and writing them down, it's very powerful. Your mind goes so fast, your hand can't go as fast as your mind. So it helps you understand, it helps you funnel those thoughts and funnel those ideas. And your unconscious really speaks not in like the English language or your native language, but it really speaks on symbols. It speaks on signals. It speaks on feelings. So connecting yourself to that unconscious patterns can be through what comes up through writing or comes up through the guided meditation. Um, and then a last strategy that can help to deal with anxiety would be movement. So with movement, you're regulating your nervous system. You are actually creating the same chemicals that alcohol creates artificially, you're creating naturally. So when you are socially pressured into a situation, you go into stress response. So movement can be a way for you to calm down, de-stress, and come back to your center. And it can be before the event or after the event, before the party or after the party. It's all about connecting with your body so you can know the signals of your body. And even 5 minutes of very gentle movement can shift your entire nervous system. And it can be a light stretch before you go into the party, or walk around the block before you enter your family's house, or maybe have a gym session before any big event where you know you will have a stressful response. So this is how you show up more centered. This is how you show up more able to access that prefrontal cortex, and you are more capable of honoring your truth. So someone answered in the chat, what are some strategies of dealing with anxiety? They say, I take a break and hang out with my friends whenever I start to feel anxious, and it helps to take my mind off things. That's so beautiful. Reaching out to your support network is one of the most powerful things, because if you're feeling stressed or you're feeling anxious about not connecting with the people around you because everyone is drinking, maybe calling or reaching out for a friend that you feel comfortable connecting with and sharing this can help you ease your mind and really take your mind off the situation, because you really are understanding that it's not conditional. It's really like that connection is not conditional through alcohol. So it's really important for you to know that the journey of the unconscious moderation app is really about a 90-day program. So the first month is about no drinking and clarity. It's how to discover who you are underneath that social mask and how you present yourself, and understanding the cravings, understanding all of this situations that have been numbed through alcohol. Then the second month would be about moderation, where you get to choose whether to drink or not to drink, but it's because of your agency and your choice. And then the third one would be where those new patterns of moderation and choosing become integrated. So there's this idea that habits are built in 21 days. And that has been disproven by science, and it takes a lot longer than most people realized. So coming up with our New Year goals and New Year's resolutions, give yourself the grace and give yourself the space between building a habit and more than 21 days, because it takes longer and it takes that active role in your life. It's not something that happens passively. So the unconscious moderation app really is available for you to explore. It's available for download on the Apple Store, then also on Google Play. And if navigating social pressure or around social pressure of drinking has been something that you've been struggling with and you don't know how to face it alone, and you're very reliant on willpower, maybe the unconscious moderation app is for you. You are building a community. You are being guided through the situations, and it can really help you understand yourself, understand your culture, understand your the places you are, and how can you show up for yourself differently. So yeah, that's most of what the unconscious moderation team really wants to share around the holiday season and around, yeah, this last month of the year. So here is something that I really want you to carry forward, and it's social pressure around drinking is something real, and the science is also real, and the psychology behind it is real as well. So understanding those unconscious patterns, it's a must. And that's how you can really develop the capacity to stay true to yourself. And you don't have to be perfect at this. There are going to be moments where this situation can be a little bit more difficult to navigate. And we're not trying to make you like navigate all this experience flawlessly, because that's not how humans really are. But we are trying to help you navigate those situations with compassion. That's really what we want to carry forward. So the people who really care about you and love you will adapt, and they might not understand immediately, but they will respect your choice. But at the end, it's how you respect your choice, how you respect your boundaries, and feel more connected to yourself. So, the unconscious moderation app really gives you the tools to make this journey a little bit easier. And we really hope that you give it a try, maybe December or the kickoff of dry January. We're here for you. And remember that transformation really doesn't require perfection. It requires awareness. And if what we talked about today clicked for you anyway, and you are noticing that your relationship with alcohol does need a shift, give the Unconscious Moderation app a try. We are here to support you, and we help you rewire the unconscious patterns to transform your perspective. And this is how you create a lasting change from the inside out. So stay conscious and stay free. See you on the next slide.